Poor people of Reddit, what is a habit you still have from when you used to be poor? When I put money aside for something I wanna buy, I don't end up spending it. I would look at my account, see all the money and tell myself, well, this was supposed to be for this thing, but I like the numbers I see in my account. I've lived fine without having the item this far, why not just keep the money? I did this exact thing recently, and it's weirder because it was gonna be something I wanted to buy for my birthday, but I can't bring myself to spend it. Back when I was really poor, I would play the how many days I can go without spending a dime game. Now, even though I've got a decent paying job, I still count how many days I can go and brag to my girlfriend when I get a good streak going. This is a really good idea. I'm going to start doing this. That heart-crushing fear that starts to choke you as soon as you log in to check your bank account. I haven't been overdrawn in years, but I still feel like I need a stiff drink every time I get ready to check my balance. I cannot eat everything that's on my plate, and if there is a lot of leftovers, I'll end up eating the same thing for lunch for the next 4 days until it either goes bad or is gone. We never had much food growing up, and now I find it impossible to waste food. Spending a lot of time making sure I get the best deal, and agonizing over purchases that are more than about $50. Up until a few years ago, I did the whole put $5 of gas in the tank at a time because you don't have any spare cash thing. Recently, I went and visited my, still very poor, parents, and noticed that I was low on gas while I was driving their minivan around. So I filled up the tank without thinking about it. The next morning, I get up and my dad's got the manual for the van out and he's like, I think something's wrong with the van. I got in it this morning and the gas gauge was pointing straight up. It was pretty funny to me, but a little unnerving how, once they figured out what had happened, they treated it like a big deal, like I'd gotten them some incredible gift. My brother and mother both drive, and they'll put in $10-15 worth of fuel at a time. I often get asked by my mother for fuel money, and after she asked twice in a week for $10 for fuel, I offered to fill it up, and it was like such a thing wasn't even a possibility in her mind. Not me, but my 6-year-old daughter. Her mom left us and now we actually have money again. She still tries to give me pocket change she finds to help pay the bills. Seriously, it's important to talk to your kids about finances, but they shouldn't overhear arguments about it. Still makes me choke up when she smiles with her hands full of loose change. Crap, all throughout high school, I skipped lunch because I wanted to help the family's finances as much as possible. At $2 a day, I ended up saving close to $1,500 bucks by the end of high school. You're right on the money about not letting kids overhear arguments over money. I purchase discount food and freeze all my leftovers. I pick up pennies that are on the sidewalks because saving pennies helped me buy food and gas in the past. Fixing things instead of tossing and replacing them, and keeping things until they are absolutely broken. Sure, I can't scroll left on my phone and the 7 is broken and sometimes it turns off for no reason, but I can still make calls, can't I? Throwing as little as possible out. Empty yogurt container, Tupperware, chicken bones and vegetable peelings, frozen for making stock, but I'm okay with these habits. It's amazing how your vocabulary can develop when you have missing letter keys on your phone. I've been a practicing doctor for 10 years and I still drive the car I bought in high school. I also have a house that is smaller and less luxurious than almost all of the nurses I work with. When I was growing up, I would always hear stories about rich people going broke because of buying fancy cars and huge houses, and it just stuck. Everyone I work with thinks I am crazy because I take a lot of international vacations but drive a 1989 Honda Accord and live in a small house out in the sticks. You are doing it right. I still look at the price cost of everything when grocery shopping. It may not have a fancy package or taste quite as good, but it's cheaper by weight, so it's what I'm getting. Distrust of almost everyone. Growing up poor, in a poor neighborhood, you get the feeling rightly most of the time, that everyone else is trying to take advantage of you. When someone comes into some money, like a child support check or tax return, all the friends' relatives come out of the woodwork looking for a handout or to help you decide how to spend it. Now, even though I'm okay financially, if I get some extra money I still get a little suspicious when friends text and want to hang out. I know they don't know I just got my tax return, they're just trying to hang out with me. But for a moment I'm back in the old neighborhood hiding my mail under my groceries so no one can see the yellow federal envelope. I will add mine. I have trouble turning down free crap because, well, it's free. I am still trying to psychologically accept that I need to throw out some of this old hand-me-down crap because I can afford to buy decent quality items now. Also, rice and beans are delicious. I dislike having a lot of food in my house. Because when you're poor, if you have food in your house, it means that food might go bad, and then you're stuck with the unpleasant choice of eating something that was moldy, or throwing it away and not eating at all. Better to have nothing in the fridge and go to the store every couple of days than to go to the store once a week but throw something away day 5. This, by the way, drives my wife nuts. Because it means if there's leftovers, I really want to eat that first so they don't go bad. And buying bulk makes me nervous, because even if it's cheaper per unit, there's a chance I might have to throw some of those units away until we eat nothing but that. I don't think middle class people realize how often poor people eat the same dang thing. It's not because we like rice and beans, it's because if we don't, then the rice and beans might go bad and then we have nothing to eat. Rice and beans was a bad example. Those don't really spoil unless bugs get into them. Replace with something that does spoil. My GF never eats her leftovers. Drives me nuts. I can afford to throw them out but it's still wasteful. Putting off going to the doctor, I now make myself go for little things. For example, being sick, because it's a terrible habit to fear spending on one's health. Whenever my family would cook a pot roast, my father would have a small slice of bread and gravy before the meal. As we grew older he started preparing the same for my little sister and I. We always thought his impatience was rude, and he was ruining our appetite for the nice meal to come. It wasn't until we were in our mid-teens did my father, a child of the Great Depression, explain why we did it. He said, it was a reminder of the really hard times when that's all they had to eat. The look in his eyes is forever burned into my mind's eye and that moment has stuck with me my entire life. Every time I make her a really nice meal, I see the expression on his face and take note of how fortunate I am. I still do it every time we make a pot roast. I still buy all of my clothes on sale. It's the only time I'll ever buy clothes. They have to be on sale and they have to be cheap. Yet, I still dress nicely and buy new clothes often because they are always putting stuff on closeout. I play the lottery. Despite having a degree in economics, knowing it's completely irrational and having gone from being homeless to owning a house and having a job paying around double the median income, I still play the lottery. If I can ever successfully argue that it's a charitable donation, as opposed to gambling losses, which can only offset winnings, based on the expected value of the ticket, I'll claim it on my taxes as such. 2. I occasionally buy lottery tickets, not to win, but because it's like a $3 vacation for the mind. The few dollars are easily offset by the enjoyment and relaxation I derive from the fantasy of winning. The silly thing is I just can't get that without buying an actual ticket. I still add up every item to the penny when I'm food shopping, even if I know it's practically impossible to go over budget with just one trolley. I also dread unannounced knocks on the door, unrecognized numbers calling, and I never open my post in front of people. It's not been long since I've crawled my way out of debt and up the management ladder, but it'll take a long time to get rid of the fare. Watering down drinks. Every glass of fizzy drink, juice, etc. is half water. It's what my parents did whenever we could have sweet drinks to make them last longer, and now as an adult most sweetened or fizzy drinks taste too strong or too fizzy for me, so I water them down. Same with cereal, half milk half water on it. Also, wearing clothes until they're unwearable. Small hole in a noticeable place right on the front of my shirt. I can sew it up, even though nowadays I could easily just toss it. Comes from back when all my cousins had to hand down our clothes. Thank God I was only the second oldest. I was with you until you put water in your cereal. Buying the cheapest thing available. I'm trying to slowly break myself of this habit, but it's hard to look at two things where there is obviously a noticeable difference in both price and quality, and not go with the thing that is cheapest. Reddit has taught me this is okay unless it's shoes, mattresses, or other large and oft-used items that will be worth the expense for the sake of quality and not having to repurchase the item ever so often. 5-day purchase rule. Anytime I want to spend $100 or more on something, I make myself wait 5 days to purchase it. If I still want it at that time, I buy it. Over the years, this has saved me literally tens of thousands of dollars on impulse buys of crap I don't need, like video game consoles, furniture, or other electronics. That's a really good idea. It's always difficult to save money when it comes to online purchases because owning the item is just one quick click away. So in an effort to be frugal, I add the item to my cart and leave it there. It's almost like I own it because I half committed to buying it. Sure enough, I lose interest and voila, money saved. I have so many. I grew up in a really crappy apartment building where if you used too many appliances at once the power would go out and wouldn't come back on for a while. Now I'm in a nice, newly renovated home and I've caught myself checking to see if the microwave is going before I turn on the hairdryer. Ah yes, our fuse box was in the basement of the apartment complex filled with spiders, snakes, and general deathery. You did not want to be the one to blow the fuse. I still scrounge. Not steal, but scrounge. If I have an extra condiment packet after eating, I will keep it. I do not take extra on purpose. I pick up coins and love it when someone gives me a free promotional pen. I always look for bargains, trying to maximize the quality-price ratio. I do not throw out leftovers and eat stuff that my wife says has probably gone bad, but she is a bit paranoid about that sort of thing. So I make my own determination. I work 3 or 4 jobs at a time to put extra money away, even though my full-time job pays more than enough. It is just habit and what I have always done. If you grew up in a poor family, you could relate to this. I still will not finish the last of anything. Cereal, chips, milk, ice cream, you name it. I'll always leave a little in there. Back when I was a kid I got yelled at for finishing it, and now at 26 I still won't do it. Drove my ex-girlfriends and roommates crazy. Even now living alone and buying it on my own, I still feel guilty. Dude, get a little drunk and go crazy finishing boxes of everything. It will do you some good. Used to live with my mom and on every public service you can think of. Welfare, food stamps, public housing, disability assistance. Food was a big thing for our house. I am now a food hoarder. I am a single person and I have a freezer and fridge full of food. Cabinets stuffed to the maximum. I have enough food to feed a family of 6 for a month. It actually feels oddly satisfying. Used to be dirt floor trailer poor. Now I got a few dollars. I still shop at discount stores and do 100% of my own work. I also don't be at things I've seen always been well off folks be about. You want me to press a button 8 hours a day to earn good money? Awesome. I'm on it. I still love a lot of poor people food and prefer it to the brand name stuff, like 99-cent a pack bologna and off-brand mac and cheese. I'm mostly okay these days, but for a long time. Do you remember the first time you realized you could afford to buy real juice instead of the canned stuff? Shaking that was really hard for me. Buying milk, and suddenly every meal was cereal or Kraft dinner, which were most meals, since that stuff was cheap. I still feel guilty buying any kind of expensive snack food. $1,800 to help my mom out? Sure. $3 ice cream? Are you crazy? Overspending. I still manage to overspend every month. An exceedingly rich person once told me that they don't notice the money because their spending increases with their money. I've unfortunately found that to be true. Yep, there is definitely such thing as being poor rich. You can make crazy money, but if you buy $1 million house and send your kids to fancy private schools, you could still be living paycheck to paycheck. I used to draw my own bee back when I was a rural countryside third world kid. Still do today sometimes, just to sharpen my deteriorating drawing skills. Pics, science, etc. I keep old raggedy clothes so when I go home I can dress down so I don't look like a jackass and can fit in with my folks. Plus I don't want to be robbed. I'm still addicted to fast food. I don't have any respect for rich jackasses. My boss surprised me because he drives a junker car. Still love to work on cars and trucks even though I can afford to get them fixed. Take pride in mowing my own lawn, growing my own food, and fixing my own crap. Still act like a broke butt hillbilly. I went from making $24K a year in the SF Bay Area after working my way through college and all that jazz to making $75K a year over the course of a single year. I still cook for myself. I still get lunch at Safeway or at the really cheap dim sum bakery in Chinatown. It's about a mile run to get there, instead of all the swanky Soma eateries my co-workers go to. I take public transit everywhere and barely use my used car. I just can't go for wasting money like everyone else does. Plus, whenever there's free food at work, I always go for it, no matter what it is. Frick yeah, free food. And then I check my bank account and realize I've got 25K in checking and no idea what to do with that fact. I don't think I'll ever lose my poor habits. Oddly enough, I really only developed them within the past couple of years. Looking back at when I lived with my parents, or on the company's dime, I was pretty damned wasteful. Now, in order to save the most money, we only heat one room in the house and even then it's still cold, put warm clothes on. Got the electric bill down to like $60 a month during the mega blizzards. If we ran central heating all the time, it would be $250 a month. We buy the cheapest everything and can now accurately tell you when any type of meat or vegetable is too bad to eat. We haven't bought any new clothes in a year or so. There's only 1 to 2 lights on at any time in the house. I built a clothesline so we wouldn't have to use the dryer. We're driving 2 old cars given to us by my parents when we moved to the USA. 300k miles, no AC, none of the windows roll down, but still runs and costs us nothing. The list goes on and on. I feel myself turning into a real miser and I hope it's not permanent. I make good money but my wife is foreign and majored in English. We live in a very rural part of GA and it's been impossible to find her full-time employment. She teaches at a local college but gets paid like $300 a month. Plan is, save every penny we can to put her through nursing school. It's just a few years and will be so worth it. Until then, we're freaking perpetually broke. She wants to have a baby and I just don't know how we can do it. How the frick do poorer folks have kids? Not the really poor but those just above the cutoff. I look at our finances and just don't understand it. Sorry for the long post but I've been living with worry for a while now and it felt good to skim the top off. I grew up poor. I collect all the money I find on the street. I don't buy myself unless I go through a 6-stage process to determine if I really need what I am buying. I own a computer, a phone, and a backpack as major purchases. That is it. I'm going to explain my 6-stage process for buying products. 1. Ask yourself, do you really need this? Do you really need this? In a week will you need this? In a month, will you remember buying this? 2. Regret. I feel regret quickly. Will I feel regret about this? It needs to be a 85-15 split. As in, I'll only have the potential to feel about 15% regret, which turns into guilt later on. Do you want to feel anything higher than 15%? Number 3. Do you have the money for this? The answer to this is always no. You will never have the money to spend frivolously. Are you willing to go in the red for this? This is the question you ask yourself when you eye your credit card in the corner of your eye. 4. Do I have a version of this at home? Key distinction because I know girls who have 3 different sneakers and don't go running. You can have a running sneaker and formal sneaker, but why have 4 running sneakers all at once? 5. Am I getting a better bang for my buck somewhere else? Should I wait? Shopping is a 2-week period for me. You go in the first time to check prices, note things you like, note things on sale. You go again in 2 weeks to see if there are markdowns. I shop at Gap a lot. Yes, I know, but they have cycle I have down to a science when it comes to when markdowns are given out. 6. Can I justify this to myself? In the end, it's really what matters. Can I tell myself that I wanted this because I wanted it? Can I tell myself that I wasn't influenced by the pretty girl that had the scarf on in the advertising? Can I justify that I was okay with the color, but not the fabric? If this isn't cool, then we can't go through. Any questions? I still get a majority of my clothes from the thrift store. The one I go to sometimes has really nice, brand name clothing at reasonable prices. I also still cut my own hair sometimes. Cutting your hair is awesome. You get it exactly how you want it. Kind of. My toaster broke and my mom didn't drive or have the money to buy one, so to make waffles I'd fold a clothes hanger and put it on a burner on the stove. Put my waffle on top and cook it. I am used to using waffle mix to make waffles, and most of the coat hangers I own are made from plastic. Some are wooden, but none are in metal. So I imagined you melting a coat hanger over the stove and then pouring waffle mix over it. I was very confused there for a while. I still share a room to save money on rent. All my friends make fun of me for it, but I am saving $400, $1,000 a month compared to them. Holding on to trinkets just in case so I don't have to buy something to replace it later. I'm slowly getting over this, but I still have one token to remember olden days. After family went through a bad time, the first year my mom managed to save enough to buy us Christmas gifts. She bought my sister and I a comforter, Pocahontas for her, Lion King for me. By now the corners are threadbare, the filling is all lumpy, so I have it folded over a small table as a makeshift ottoman. Whenever I sit or rest my feet on it I forget anything that I could have been at my mom for. When it gets really cold I unfold it and still use it, keeps me extra warm, plus 10 feels. I grew up poor. We lived in a trailer, because that's all we could afford. We eventually moved to an actual house when I was around 12, but we still didn't have a lot of money. Now 12 years later, I'm doing alright for myself, however I am still worried about money. Like one morning I'll wake up and it'll all be gone again. I also wear clothes until they fall apart, and shop the circular at the grocery store. If it's not on sale, I don't buy it. I'm able to maintain a monthly food budget of $400 for 2 people in NYC by doing this. I also never buy anything for myself. Counting my money repeatedly when standing in line to pay for something for fear of not having enough money to pay for it. We often had to put food back at the grocery store because we didn't have enough food stamps. Not being able to throw anything practical out until it's gone. I moved to a new city and people have left behind all sorts of toiletries from visiting. I have like 8 different kinds of shampoo in my shower, and I'm balding. I always shop around for the best price. An online purchase for as little as £30 can easily take over an hour of comparisons. I know I'm not an adult, but there have been times of unemployment in my family. We're doing great financially now, so it's odd that I still do this. I get nervous asking for things. I have a white tank top I use as an undershirt for sweaters a lot. I've had it for a few years and it looks a bit yellowish. No matter how much I bleach it, I just don't feel like I should ask for a new one, even though I'd be shocked if it cost $4. Every tank or t-shirt that I get stained up ripped ends up becoming an undershirt. I just can't throw them away. Using public transport, sometimes I just want to be able to sit, relax, and maybe read a book while traveling instead of driving. When I note my paycheck deposit in my ledger, I omit the change. Those few cents every week add up over time. Nowadays I short the entry by $10, now that I can afford it. Every couple of years I compare my ledger balance with my online balance and find a nice little windfall that I can use to pay off a bill or buy something nice. It's an easy way to save some money without noticing. My go-to way to save money during a particularly broke month is still to not eat. I go days without eating more than a granola bar or a PB&J all day, with the goal of putting off buying groceries for another 2 weeks. No one is gonna call you and tell you your eating bill is past due. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.